Welcome to Convince Me. We are back for week 10. This is the top of the power hour, the only NFL pregame show with all the stuff you care about, none of the fluff you don't. I am Chad Millman for the next 30 minutes. My Action Network buddies, Sean Koerner, Simon Hunter, Chris Raybon are going to convince me the props, the sides, the totals I should take for the entire NFL slate today, plus Evan Abrams with market reports and trends that will make us smarter than our friends. And we will welcome Dr. Nick Giffen, who will take us through the latest need to know from our luck rankings. At the bottom half of the hour, Gilles, Gallant, and Brian Matthews will preview the best touchdown props on the board today with the Touchdown Show. Before we begin, like this video, subscribe to the Action Network YouTube page. Everything we discussed today, all the picks, all the data, all the research, available in the award-winning Action Network app. Download it today. Before we get to the picks, I hope they're not pits. Let's get to the picks. Taking a look at our leaderboard after week 9. Koerner falling a little bit behind. You'll notice Raybon, one pick fewer than the others. That's because he gave out Jermaine Burton from the Bengals last week during the show. 45 seconds after he said it, Jermaine Burton declared inactive. So we'll have to find a way to make him pick up the pick at some point this year. Koerner, I got a lot of faith in you, brother. Tell me what you're going with for your prop.
Well, certainly my props have been pits here so far this season. Instead of, just waiting for all my 10 props I gave out yesterday to get bet hard and move the line, I actually woke up early this morning and found a brand new, fresh, official prop for you. Maybe that'll change things. But I'm going with Caleb
So this
Williams.
hasn't been anywhere. This is exclusive.
No, live. This is
live.
official. Get it at this price. Caleb Williams, under 29.5 pass attempts. You can get it at minus 114 right now. But the Bears, they've only played with the lead just 26% of the time this season, so the seventh lowest rate in the league. And this is a market where game script plays a huge part. So Caleb's been in a pass-heavy game script most of the time this season, and he's still only managed to clear this number in 3 of 8 games. And today, the Bears are 6-point home favorites against the Patriots, which means I'm projecting them to play with the lead around 50% of the time. So nearly double their rate so far this season, and their pass rate, along with most teams, has gone down 12% when playing with the lead this year. So it's no surprise to see that in their 3 wins this year, Caleb Williams has not cleared this number. Plus, this is a game where they should have a run-heavy game plan anyway, because we could see 20-plus mile-hour wins. And this Patriots run defense has been really bad lately. They've actually allowed 7 different running backs to clear 80-plus yards in the last 6 games. So I'm projecting quite a bit of value on the under here. I think this is a tenth too high. So I'm showing about a 60% chance he stays under 29.5 pass attempts here.
I love it. Plus, everyone knows the Bears are trash. Their offense has been trash. Shane Waldron has not been calling good games for Caleb Williams. This is a very good chance with the Bears left tackle situation being really hazardous to Caleb Williams' health to give him a chance to not have to stand back in the pocket and run around like a crazy person with his head cut off. All right, Simon, what do you got?
Going with Jalen Hurts under 35.5 rushing yards. And this is really all about just this matchup and Hurts having an injury, right? It was leaked by Nick Sirianni this week that Hurts has an ankle injury. And it was suspicious because he does not take rest days. He's not a quarterback that takes days off from practice. Took a day off on Wednesday, light practice on Thursday, and then he did the walkthrough on Friday. And you watch in the video, even the beat writers were posting it, he was favoring that ankle. He was walking gingerly on it. Just a spot I don't think he's going to need to run the ball. Like, if you look at his previous games, he's had to run the ball because they've been in these type of spots where he needs to run it. We don't expect this to be that really close of a game with Dallas, right? It's up to 7.5, this line. Should be a blowout. Looking at this matchup with Hurts, it feels like we're getting free yards here, Chad, just because he's gone over this total the previous 2 games in a row, right? The public, they've been hammering his over rushing yards, and it's just, at this point, going to come back the other way. So the fact that he's gone under this total 5 games this season, I like it. I like that it's just kind of thing where out of desperation, he runs the ball. And this matchup, especially with Parsons back, I don't think he's going to run the ball as much. So give me the under 35.5 rushing yards.
Gotta love the Eagles head coach leaking information that gives bettors an advantage. Fantastic. Things continue to go wonderfully for Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia. Raybon, let's go. Let's hope this guy stays on the active roster for the game today.
I mean, you never heard of him, so there's a chance he won't. But no, he should be. Ashton Dulin over 9.5 receiving yards for the Indianapolis Colts against the Buffalo Bills. So Michael Pittman is out for the Colts, so that leaves a big void at one of their outside receiver spots, and it's going to be filled by A.D. Mitchell, but also Ashton Dulin. So there's a chance even that Dulin is kind of more of a one-for-one Pittman replacement. He is listed behind him on the depth chart. But either way, we saw last week on the Sunday night game, he got 2 targets and 2 carries. And this was as the number 5 wide receiver. So it's clear they are trying to get him, more involved in this game. And I think that with Michael Pittman out, you're going to see Dulin, you're going to see Mitchell, and it's Joe Flacco. So you're not going to get as many inaccurate targets as Dulin has kind of seen over the course of this year. So give me Dulin over 9.5 receiving yards.
I mean, what am I going to do here? My favorite quarterback in the history of the Chicago Bears, my favorite team. I've got Jalen Hurts, the highest profile quarterback, and I get to bet his under because he's injured. I get to bet on a guy I've never heard of who's the number 5 receiver on a mediocre team in a division nobody cares about. What am I going to do? I'm going with Jalen Hurts, under 35.5. I will bet all 3 of these as soon as the show is over. I'm hoping the prices haven't gone crazy, but I'm going with Jalen Hurts, under 35.5 rushing yards. Thank you, Simon. All right, next up, we're talking about the sides. Koerner, let's hear it, brother.
All right, well, my hat's a dead giveaway, but I am going with the Colts. It's up to plus 4.5 again, thank God, so I'm going with plus 4.5 here. But they're just going to be a better team with Joe Flacco under center. On the season, he's currently 15th in EPA per dropback, while Anthony Richardson ranks 27th. So this is a rare situation where I think, the backup heading in the season, I think, is an improvement over the starter. Plus, Flacco's going to help if they end up being down 7+ points. He's the better bet to lead them to a backdoor cover too, which is nice here. But, the Colts, they recently got back 2 of their best players on both sides of the ball a couple weeks ago, Jonathan Taylor and DeForest Buckner. Both players should be closer to 100% healthy now. And just a huge boost on both sides of the ball. And as Raybon mentioned, they're without wide receiver Michael Pittman, which is, sort of a blow, but I'm a big believer in the rookie A.D. Mitchell here. I actually laddered his over. I like him so much today. I also like Raybon's Dulin prop as well, but I think they have plenty of pieces to step up with Pittman out here. And on the other side, the Bills are dealing with a ton of wide receiver injuries. Their rookie Keon Coleman's out. Amari Cooper's questionable, but they just elevated a motley crew of receivers, 3 of them. So it seems likely that, Cooper might, miss here. So that's going to be a huge blow. And Josh Allen, he only has 2 interceptions on the season so far, even though his turnover-worthy play rate is actually higher than last year, according to PFF. So I think that luck could run out here as well. So a lot of reasons to like the Colts. Plus 4.5 here, and every game this season has been a 1-score game with them. They've only lost more than 4 points twice. So they tend to keep it close. And again, with Joe Flacco under center, more likely for them to, mount a backdoor cover if needed here.
Yeah, I've got a pretty strong opinion on this one, and I kind of know which way I'm leaning. So I want to hear what Simon has to say.
Let me get the Saints plus 3.5, Chad. And this is really as low as we can get on the Saints team, right? We always talk about buying low on a team. It doesn't get much lower. They've lost 7 straight games. They're coming off an embarrassing loss to Carolina Panthers, and that's fresh in the public's mind. This is going to be one of the more public sides of the week, this Atlanta team. And we talk all the time, if it's really a heavy public side on a team that's not that good, that's on the road in a divisional game, you always want to fade it. And that's what Atlanta is. They're not that good. I mean, they've been in games, close games. They've been very lucky, though. When you look at it, they've been very lucky this season. And, look at the luck rankings. Anytime I'm on the same side as Dr. Nick, I feel good. And he's all over this side. So that's another benefit. And we talk about the trends all the time in these exact spots. Kirk Cousins, 9-12-1 in his career off back-to-back straight-up wins against the spread. Since 2017, he's 3-10 against the spread in this exact spot, Chad. So we've seen it before. He always has a letdown after 2 back-to-back wins. And then you factor in the fact that the Saints, we always talk about this, they fired their head coach. 39 teams have fired their head coach. They're 22-17 against the spread in that following game. So we're getting a good number. We're getting good value here. This would probably be 2.5, 2 if this Saints team had won last week. Instead, it's up to 3.5 just because no one's betting them. It's only professionals betting the Saints line. So I'll take the value here on the 3.5.
Yeah, look, you and I, we talked about it in the favorites. We've been on the Saints at plus 3.5 all week. It's not a fun bet to make. It's kind of ugly. They also, Chris Olave on IR, their best receiver, Marshawn Lattimore, has been traded. They've clearly gone into a mode where they're trying to get ahead of all their salary cap issues. They're going to be figuring out what their team looks like in the future. But look, Derek Carr, for all of his issues against the spread, is a decent quarterback. And you could argue that his stats are nothing but superficial. They don't lead to wins. They don't lead to covers. And he throws way too many fades on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 that gives him 0 options in terms of completing and converting on those short yardage situations. But this is the right side to play. All right, Raybon.
Go with the Pittsburgh Steelers plus 2.5. It's going down to 2. So get this, quick, but I like the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Commanders here. I think this is a really tough matchup for this Commanders offense. And they haven't really seen a bunch of good defenses this year at all. We know that this 61% drive scoring rate for the Commanders is going to regress. The best ever has been, just over 50%. And you look at the Steeler defense, they're one of the best teams in the league against running quarterbacks. They allowed the second fewest rushing yards. Their scheme is a more zone-heavy scheme, so they're always going to have eyes on the quarterback. That edge rush with Watt and Highsmith, Washington, their weakest point has really been kind of their tackles have been overachieving the most. But you look on the other side of the ball, you have the Steelers offense coming off a bye, so I think Russell Wilson and that whole offense will be even a little better than it was kind of going in. You got on the special teams front, the kicker for Washington, Seibert, who's been really good. He's out of the lineup as well. And Marshawn Lattimore, he's not going to go today. So that defense is still the weakest point of this game for either team. Washington is number 26 in defensive DVOA. And these are the Tomlin spots. Like they haven't been an underdog much this season. And they're probably going in here and they're going to be hyped up because they're playing really well. And yet, this rookie quarterback is getting all this love. And Tomlin, as a dog, 59, 31-3 against the spread for his career. As a dog against an opponent with a better record, which Washington does have by a half game, Tomlin is 30-11 against the spread, 73%. So I like the Steelers here.
Yeah, look, Tomlin is the most profitable coach in a generation as an underdog, meaning 20 years, as far back as our database and data betting data points go. Also tremendous as a coach against rookies. I think 25-5. Evan can back us up on that. I love all 3 of these bets. You can see him in the Action app. I've actually bet all three of them. When Koerner was talking, I was a little distracted while he was talking because I was trying to grab the Colts at plus 4.5. That's my pick. Like, I love this spot for the buy low, sell high. The Colts coming off a bad game against the Vikings. Everyone thinking they made a mistake putting Joe Flacco back in the lineup. But that Vikings defense is fierce, and this Bills defense just isn't, especially against the run, which is the strength for the Indianapolis Colts. You look at their yards per play, you look at their rush yards over expectations, you look at their EPA per rush. This is the best run blocking unit in the NFL. I also like that they've gotten healthier. Koerner mentioned Buckner, Grover Stewart, the middle of the line. The strength of the Bills is running the ball. I think that can be somewhat mitigated. Give me the Colts plus 4.5. All right. We've mentioned the public a couple of times. We love to fade the public. Let's take a look at where the majority of betting tickets are, according to the Action app. For those who are new, the betting tickets generally represents who the public, the Joes like. The money percentages also available in the app indicates who the professionals like. We've talked about a couple of these games already. The Falcons and the Saints. The Falcons getting 83% of the tickets. The Titans and the Chargers getting all the money or all the tickets, and the Vikings, they are getting all of the tickets against the Trevor Lawrence-less Jacksonville Jaguars. It's time to bring in Evan Abrams. You're going to make us smarter, hopefully make us feel a little bit better about what we're doing today. Evan?
Yeah, hopefully a little bit better, but I'll start with some market information just to get everyone updated. So 3 market moves. The Chargers are up to -8 against the Titans. He looks like it's coming down to -7 against the Broncos in some spots, and Philly down to 7 in most spots in Dallas today. 2 weather spots for everyone to be aware of. So Jacksonville is going to see a little rain, wind and rain coming more in the second half, end of game situation, but you'll have 10 to 15 mile an hour winds there. The real wind situation is in Chicago. So Windy City sustained winds about 15 to 20 miles an hour. It could even get higher. And it's going to be more in the middle of the game. And the totals dropped about a point and a half. It was 38 and a half, now down to 37 and a half, basically over the last 24 hours. In terms of other market notes, pretty much just favorites have rocked recently. So home favorites, 18-2 straight up since the start of week 8, 10-0 straight up as 6+ point favorites in that span. And road favorites, as we talked about previously on the show, 22-8 against the spread since week 5. So they've been rolling. All right, 2 notes before I get out of here. So the Lions, 40-15 against the spread in their last 55 games, dating back to the middle of 2021. But the real note here is them coming through for favorites. This year, the Lions are 4-0 against the spread as the public side. Last 3 years, they are 21-4 against the spread when listed as the public side. They're getting about 80% of tickets right now on Sunday Night Football in Houston. So we will see how that goes. And then finally, this Chargers game has just 2 really unique angles. So Justin Herbert is 7-0 straight up in his career at home as a favorite of 7+ points. A win today would give him the most wins without a loss in that spot since 2003 for any quarterback. And this has kind of been talked about, the total in Chargers games. Herbert himself is 17-2 to the under in his last 19 starts, going under by 6.9 points per game in that span. The second most profitable quarterback to the under, interesting enough, is CJ Stroud. So 16-7-1, which I don't think many people would have assumed, but that Herbert stat, 17-2 in his last 19 starts to the under. Pretty wild.
Hey, Evan, it's my chance to make you a little bit smarter. Did you know? I can see everybody's ears perking up on the Zoom that people can't see on the show. Did you know that Chicago is called the Windy City because of bloviating politicians?
I don't know if I really specifically knew that, maybe in my past minds, but honestly, I would have just assumed it was breezy. So thank you for the information.
It is breezy. The wind off the lake can really cut
Lakeshore Drive. I know about
it. But it's because of the politicians from the 1800s. All right, taking us back to modern day, Sean Koerner is reporting in the Zoom that Amari Cooper is out for the Buffalo Bills. Even more reason to like the Colts in this game. Guess what, folks? If you want access to all of Action's pro projections and know you will not get my Chicago trivia, make sure to sign up for our annual subscription that is currently on sale. Access includes exclusive player prop picks from Sean Koerner and other members of the Action Analytics team. Plus, Pro just keeps getting better. You'll now get access to Koerner's anytime touchdown projections. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today. Use code POWER20 at sign up. One more time, that's POWER20 at sign up for $20 off. All right, boys, we're talking a little bit about totals. Evan mentioned some wind and rain. Let's hear what you got, Koerner.
I'm going with the under in this Eagles-Cowboys game at 43.5. It's up to 44 in some spots, so try to get the best number there if you can. But obviously, Cooper Rush is replacing the injured Dak Prescott here. I have that being around, 4 to 4.5 point drop-off. Rush has only attempted 39 passes this season, but if you look at his EPA per dropback, it would rank 32nd among qualified passers. So just ahead of Deshaun Watson and Bryce Young. That's kind of the ballpark we're dealing with here. And CeeDee Lamb has been cleared to play, but he's still playing through this AC joint sprain, so he's not at full health right now. So it's just hard to see them being able to put up too many points against an Eagles defense that's trending up right now. And on the other side, they're getting back Micah Parsons today, which is obviously a massive boost for the Cowboys defense. And as Simon mentioned earlier, Sirianni sort of leaked that Jalen Hurts is apparently dealing with an ankle injury, so he might not have the same mobility as usual here. Plus, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are both dealing with injuries. They might not be 100%. So they're just going to lean on Saquon Barkley a ton here. It's been working very well recently. They've dominated time of possession the past 3 games, most in the league at 35 minutes a game. So I think this is a game they're just content, grind the clock, just run heavy game plan here. So like the under here, and this has the luck total rating of -6.7, another strong signal for the under as well.
All right. Cowboys Eagles, that one's getting a lot of attention today. The line's moved from 7.5 to 7, so someone's betting on the Cowboys. Simon, what do you got?
Going Chargers Titans under 39. Evan talked about it. I mean, all the trends, everything points to taking this under, and I can't keep avoiding it. Last week I wanted to take it. Got scared off because of Jameis Winston. That was never in doubt. Chargers under. So it's another week of how are they going to score points against that Titans defense? Oh, they're going to run the ball most likely. That's kind of been their identity this season. And same goes for the flip side. This Titans team, it is going to be Will Levis. I think they know that they need to just run the ball and not try to pass the ball through the air with Will Levis. So to me, this is going to be a boring, slow game, low scoring. Both teams are just going to wait for the other team to make a mistake, and that's kind of how this game's going to go, right? So not only do I like that, but I like the trends as well, especially Harbaugh as a head coach. We've seen in his 3 years as a coach in the NFL, he's 28-14-1 to the under. So that's just his identity. He likes to kind of slow these games down and make it ugly. Same with Herbert. Herbert, we've seen now. Everyone thinks he's this high-scoring and incredible quarterback. He is when he has the weapons. We've seen this year, he's just different, right? He doesn't have the guys where he needs to push the ball downfield. So he's smarter with it, takes what the defense gives him, doesn't have to force him into terrible spots. Last 2 years, he's 17-4 to the under. So we like this spot. We like the number. And this one's been coming down as well. It was 39.5 this morning. It's down to 39. So definitely grab it before it moves off a key number.
Excellent. Raybon?
Let's go with that Bears Patriots under 37.5 that Evan mentioned earlier. The big thing, couple of things. Number one, you have the weather. You're going to have winds, above 15 miles per hour. You have potential rain, but you also have both Chicago starting tackles out. And so, I think that's going to be an issue. And Sean mentioned earlier, he likes the Caleb Williams under pass attempts. And that could be another reason why. It's just, you don't want to be dropping back and throwing a ton when both of your tackles are out. And for the Patriots, we already know they have one of the worst offensive lines in the league. So I think this is just a run-heavy game on both sides of this one. And with the weather, you could see some missed kicks and things like that as well. So give me the Patriots Bears under 37.5.
Yeah. This is a no-brainer. You go with the Bears and the Patriots. You got the wind. You got terrible offensive lines. You've got a team that has been struggling in the Bears in the passing game. Get your rookie quarterback confident. Hand it to your running backs. Let's make this simple. Let's not complicate it. Going with the Bears. I love the Chargers and the Titans too. I've been trying to find a way to get into this game. I know Dr. Nick is going to talk about the Chargers and the Titans. I feel a little more comfortable with the total in this game than I do in betting the craptastic side. So let's get to that craptastic side. Everyone knows my favorite stat in the Action Network universe is our luck ranking. It's taking the noise out of the randomness to give us a more accurate picture of teams' performances. For those who want to know more, you got to check them out in the Action app or actionnetwork.com. Dr. Nick is writing them up every single week, middle of the week, Wednesdays. You can see it. You can see this full screen right here. We got some nice luck rankings going on, some big differences. Dr. Nick, can you tell me, what should I do?
Well, let's start with that game that Simon was talking about earlier, New Orleans Saints versus Atlanta Falcons. But instead of taking the spread here, which I already did, I'm on this with you guys, let's take a correlated bet, and let's take Derek Carr to not throw an interception, under half an interception. You can get that at some nice plus money, plus 115. Obviously, this game is a luck rankings game, a luck difference of 29, especially when differences are that high. Anything above 24, but really, especially above 28, makes the Saints much more likely to cover, which means less likely to be in a pass-heavy script, so Carr won't have the chance to throw interceptions. Last week, or I should say this year, Carr has been unlucky with his turnover-worthy plays. He's only had 5 turnover-worthy plays all year, and yet 5 interceptions. Normally about 50 to 60% of turnover-worthy plays end up as actual interceptions. So he's been about 2 interceptions unlucky there. And he faces this Atlanta Falcons defense, which allows the highest completion percentage in the league. They don't generate pressure. And when Carr has not been pressured this year, when he's in a clean pocket, his turnover-worthy play percentage is less than 1%. League average is, around 3-something%. So, this is a really good spot here for Derek Carr.
I like that one. That's a good one. If you're looking for correlation, I can go with that. What's your second bet?
Yeah, for my second bet, well, I was going to give Dallas, Philly under, but Sean went with that luck under. So I'll go with the other luck under, and that's Minnesota versus Jacksonville. Under 43.5. This has a luck total of minus 6.1. Again, luck unders are about 60% to the under in more than a 200 game sample size over the last 7 years. This is a good spot for both defenses. Minnesota's defense allows a 3% less early down success rate than the most recent 5 opponents that Jacksonville has faced, so making it harder on early downs for the Jaguars offense. And on the flip side, the Jags D is allowed a 2% lower rate in the same stat, making it harder on Minnesota's offense. Jacksonville has also changed their coverage scheme the second half of this year. They're using more 2-high safety looks and less man coverage than they did in the start of the year. And both of those hurt Sam Darnold. Darnold has a 3 yards less yards per attempt versus 2-high safety looks than single high safety looks, and 2.3 yards per attempt lower versus zone coverage than man coverage. So maybe won't quite get the same efficiency out of Sam Darnold. Windy and rainy there in Jacksonville. And Chad, I have a ref stat for you. Adrian Hill reffing this game, 56.3% to the under in games he's reffed. He and his crew have called offensive holdings above league average rates in 5 of the last 6 years. And the other year it was right at league average.
Darn you, Dr. Nick. You are just the devil of temptation. All right. What's your last one?
Yeah, last one here. This is the fraud alert. We are taking Tennessee plus 7.5. I think there's a +8, couple +8s out there now. This isn't a luck rankings game by the luck rankings classic definition, but by a second metric I've been studying, which I'll probably start adding as official next year, scoring luck. This is a massive scoring luck game. This has a scoring luck difference of 30. Tennessee ranks 31st in scoring luck, while the Chargers rank 1st in scoring luck. That is the fraud alert right there. This also has a scoring luck gap of 47.5%. Unlucky teams in games with scoring luck gaps at least 35% or more after week 3, 15-4 against the spread since 2018, including 7-0 if they're road teams and 4-0 overall this year. Again, fraud alert. The Chargers offense had the single most luckiest result of the season last week, coming in 16.5 points over expectation. They only had a 30% success rate in possession. That includes things like turnover, or I should say penalties, when they have the ball on special teams. That's the 6th worst among any team in any game this season. They also hold the lowest number. That was in week 4 against Kansas City. And they're the 2nd worst if we look in the season as a whole. So the Chargers just terrible. And fraud alert as well, they've faced the easiest schedule in the NFL, 32nd ranked strength of schedule. Their defense is banged up. They rank 23rd in early down success rate versus the run since week 5, that defense. And this is a terrible quarterback matchup for Justin Herbert, the worst coverage quarterback matchup of week 10 at minus 15%.
You are awful. You're a terrible human being. I can't believe you're trying to get us to do this. I've been trying to avoid it. Now I'm going to have to do it. Here's what I like about everything you just said. It wasn't just about the geeky stats. You dug deep. You recognized changes in coverage that the Jacksonville Jaguars have been making. That's what makes this show all the stuff people care about. None of the fluff. They don't. Thank you, Dr. Nick, for delivering that truly, truly gross take on all 3 of those games. All right. Sunday Night Football. This is the matchup everyone's talking about. Nico Collins is off IR, but is he going to play for the Houston Texans? We've talked about the Lions and how often they cover against the spread. Jared Goff is as efficient as any quarterback in history. The past 5 weeks, this Lions team is a juggernaut. The Texans have been struggling. CJ Stroud, not the same as he was last year. Right now, Detroit is a 3.5-point favorite. They are the public side in this game. Sean Koerner, start us off.
Well, first off, we recently added anytime touchdowns to our prop tool you mentioned not too long ago. Yeah. Don't forget to use promo code POWER20 when signing up for Pro. But we're showing one of the biggest edges on Brock Wright, of all people, to score at 11-1. On Thursday Night Football, one of our top edges was Tanner Hudson at 10-1. Love that one. That cashed. Similar spot here. Brock Wright, he's the backup tight end, but he tends to get quite a bit of playing time. He's going to be running around on 30 to 35% of Jared Goff's dropbacks. And there's only been 3 Lions pass catchers who have seen 2 or more targets inside the 10-yard line. Those are Amon-Ra St. Brown, of course, Sam Laporta, and Brock Wright, of all people. Offensive coordinator Ben Johnson likes to get creative in the red zone. This is a matchup where it wouldn't shock me if he tries to get his backup tight end involved. So I'm projecting this closer to 8-1. So I like the value we're getting here, 11-1.
I like that a lot. That's going to give me something to think about when I'm either chasing or just sitting fat and happy on a Sunday night. Simon.
Yeah, going the rare public team here. I'm all over it, and I can't believe it, but Evan nailed it. We talked about this last 55 games. So since the midway point of 2021, this team is 40-15 against the spread. And that's with everyone knowing these last 2 years that this is the team and everyone bets on them. It doesn't matter if they break the rules. It's like that mid-2000s Patriots team. It doesn't matter. Everyone knows they're the best and that the books give them an extra point, 2 points every week. They just keep covering. So I make this line 4.5. Not much of an edge, only half a point of an edge or a point, depending on what book you're shopping at right now. But I love this number at minus 3.5. Another game where if you're scared of it, you can take minus 2.5 for the first half. I'm just not going to let it scare me off. I look at this matchup as what you just talked about. This defense is the difference to me, right? The last 2 games, their offense has not been really on point. The defense has kind of carried them. And I think it's the same thing here with this matchup that they're going to be able to run the ball offensively, especially we're thinking no Will Anderson. That's a big deal for that Houston defense. We kind of saw them fall apart once he went out against the Jets. Then offensively, I have questions. If Nico Collins does not play, that means they have a banged up Tank Dell as their number 1 receiver for this Houston team. And they just have not looked the same since they haven't had all those 3 guys on the field together. So to me, it's too much for CJ to be put on his shoulder here in this matchup. It's a really tough defense, probably the toughest defense he's faced this season. So I'm going the chalk side, Chad. I'm taking the minus 3.5 on this Detroit team.
Look, Simon, all season long, we have been talking about favorites covering, road favorites covering. We didn't talk about the Niners and the Bucks today, but that's going to be one of the biggest bets that I think the wise guys are on all day today. It has been a disastrous run for sports books in terms of needing the dogs and the home dogs to win, and road favorites have been dominating. So not as scary as it was even last year, but still a little bit scary. There's that perception of what CJ Stroud can do at home. Raybon, what do you got?
Both the under 49.5 in this one. I think all the signs are kind of on the wall for the Texans offense. I mean, Nico Collins didn't get activated till Friday, so he didn't practice. Tank Dell's banged up. Diggs is out. Then you have Joe Mixon back and playing really well. So I think they're going to be very run heavy. Detroit is always run heavy. And while these are two of, the most exciting offenses when Houston is healthy, these are also two top 3 defenses by DVOA. And Detroit might even get more of a pass rush back tonight if Smith ends up playing. So I think that goes kind of overlooked here, that these are two of the top 3 defenses in the league. And I think both of these teams are likely going to go to run heavy because Detroit tends to do that every week with Gibbs and Montgomery. So run heavy game. I think you're going to have some scores, obviously, but I think longer drives in this one. And I don't think Houston's offense is anywhere near full strength. So I think the under 49.5.
Yeah. I feel like I have 3 very distinct options here. I have like the fun long shot in Brock Wright. I have the feels right, but makes me nervous in taking the Lions. And then I have the safe play in taking the under. I'm going to bet all 3 of them. I'm choosing Brock Wright for the show because why not? Because I loved the Hudson play for the Bengals the other night. That was splashed all over the Action Network app and website, and it was nailed. Great job by the Anytime Touchdown projections. So let's go with Brock Wright. And because of Brock Wright, the payout for this extraordinarily high, plus 3,500. If you want to bet all of these for your same game parlay in Sunday night football, this is the show for all the stuff plus the fluffy Chicago trivia that you need. Stay tuned for the touchdown show. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you, Chad, and welcome to the Touchdown Show for Week 10. I'm Gilles Gallant with the Action Network, along with Brian Matthews, a.k.a. the BMAT. And each week, we cover the anytime touchdown market in the NFL. We've got best bets for the 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern games. We're going to have some touchdown parlays. We'll also take a look at Sunday Night Football between the Houston Texans and Detroit Lions, put together a touchdown same-game parlay for that game. Later on the show as well, we're going to have a special guest, Ahan Rungda with Parlay Science. He's going to rejoin us. He joined us in Week 4. He's got a little bit of a chalky play and a long shot bet on tap. And so here's how the show is going to work. We're going to start off with our best touchdown bets with the lowest odds, and we're going to work our way up until we unleash our spicy bets. We've got some 2 touchdown bets, both of them over 10 to 1 BMAT. We've got a 2 touchdown collab as well. Can't wait to unveil that near the end of the show. But let's start off with our best bets, BMAT. I'm going right to the afternoon slate. I'm looking right at this Chargers game, and I'm looking at Ladd McConkey. And I like Ladd, the rookie, to have a touchdown today. I got him at plus 230. I'm seeing his odds at plus 200 now. Make sure to play it over plus 200, but 4 touchdowns this year, 7 targets in week 9. He wasn't really needed in the second half. It was pretty much a blowout, but yeah. I think BMAT, the Chargers are going to need to throw a little bit more in this matchup. They rank 5th in defensive DVOA versus the run, the Titans do. But since the week 5 bye, I think the Chargers have gotten that memo about having to throw a little bit more because, after the bye, they're around 33 pass attempts per game. Before the bye, they were around 22 pass attempts per game. So clearly, if you got Justin Herbert throwing the ball, you want to be able to have a nice slot receiver like Ladd McConkey going against this Titans defense. The Titans defense, by the way, that does play man defense at close to a top 10 rate. And McConkey just crushes man this year, 4.16 yards per route run. And the Titans, when they play man, they haven't been very good, BMAT. They're allowing almost 6 yards per coverage snap. Their defensive success rate is only around 52%. Those are both bottom 10 in the NFL. So I like Ladd McConkey to score a touchdown against this Titans defense. Now, BMAT, before you give out your best bet, what do you think of Ladd McConkey in this matchup against this Titans defense?
Yeah, no, I love the matchup. And I think earlier in the year, the Chargers looked a lot like, the Falcons of, last year. Where
the Ritter Falcons.
Yeah, they preferred that the forward pass had not been invented. But, now they're top 10 in neutral game pass scripts. So I think, like you said, they got the memo. They've got some big performances, and I kind of like the fact that Palmer and Johnson went off last week, and man coverage is Ladd's specialty. So yeah, I love Ladd today.
All right, Ladd McConkey is the first best bet of Week 10. B-Matt, what is your best bet for Week 10?
All right, so best bet this week, I'm going to go 1 unit on DeAndre Swift, anytime touchdown at plus 115. So this strictly odds and matchups. So, he's plus 115 to score. He scored a touchdown in 4 of his last 5 games. He also is going up against the Patriots run defense. It's been absolutely gashed this year. They're giving up 4.71 yards per carry, and they've given up 10 rushing touchdowns to running backs this year. So when you kind of look at the blueprint of how to beat and attack the Patriots, you want to keep the ball on the ground. And that's especially true when you've got a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams that has struggled to find consistency week in and week out. So take pressure off Caleb Williams, establish the ground game. Then Caleb Williams can run some play action, open up the passing lanes. But yeah, I'm going to go DeAndre Swift to score a touchdown at plus 115.
I like this smart angle here because you're taking out the BS that comes with DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
So I've had DJ Moore last week. I had Cole Kmet the week before. And it's so frustrating because Caleb Williams and that improv in the pocket just hasn't been working this year. Whereas DeAndre Swift has been a very consistent running back for the Bears. Now, sometimes Roschon Johnson might vulture, but DeAndre Swift is involved at least in that passing game, has been getting the goal line opportunities, and been having those big runs as well. So I like that you just took out the passing game angle of the BS that comes with that Bears offense and just went with DeAndre Swift and kept it nice and simple. So kudos to you for that. All right, now if you want access to all of Action Pro's projections, make sure to sign up for our annual subscription that is currently on sale. Access includes exclusive player prop picks from Sean Koerner and other members of the Action Analytics team. You also get access to exclusive expert articles, our best spread, money line, and total bets, and real ticket and money percentages. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today and use code POWER20 at sign up. One more time, that's POWER20, POWER20 at sign up for $20 off. All right, B-Matt, let's now look at Sunday Night Football between the Detroit Lions and Houston Texans. Right at the top of the board, though, it's not David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. It's Joe Mixon at minus 165 for the Texans. Very surprising here. I would have thought Montgomery and Gibbs be ahead of him. But here we are, those 3 running backs right off the top, Montgomery and Gibbs, each at minus 130 and minus 120 respectively. Then you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown at plus 115. Then you've got a wild card after him, Nico Collins at plus 130, who I'm not sure if he's going to play or not. And if he does play, I don't know how effective he's going to be coming off of that injury. Then you've got Tank Dell right behind him at plus 155. And you've got some interesting Detroit Lion options here with Sam Laporte at plus 240, Jamison Williams at plus 250, rounded up by 2 more Texans in Dalton Schultz and Robert Woods. So B-Matt, we've got a total of 49 here. And I actually really like the Texans in this game. I think the Texans could potentially win outright as well as home dogs. But from a touchdown perspective, it's not easy. The Detroit Lions, out of any team in the NFL, more than the Kansas City Chiefs now, got that touchdown premium attached to them. Every guy seems to get steamed off the hop. But from a touchdown perspective for a same game parlay, I still feel like we got to put David Montgomery on here to start us off. What do you think?
Yeah, we were talking about this, and anytime you talk about like goal line equity and the Lions running backs, it doesn't matter to me that Jahmyr Gibbs might handle the 20 to 20. It always feels like if it's inside the 5-yard line, Monty's usually the guy getting it. So I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Monty, I think, is who we should add for the first leg. Now, I do like Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown in this game as well, mainly just because I think he is one of the few receivers who's matchup proof. We're indoors. We're not dealing with any of the elements. He's scored in like 6 straight games. So why don't we just add him as part of that too? He's around plus 115, but I feel like we still need to have a Texan here. And Nico Collins, that I'm a little uneasy right now about the receiving group right now for the Texans. What do you think if we just bypass that and we just put Tank Dell as the third leg?
It's Tank season. I'm all about it. I've played him already this year. So yes, absolutely. Love this one.
Well, and I think the other thing too that we could really hang our hat on with Tank Dell is he's done pretty well against man coverage. And the Lions play man coverage at the first rate in the NFL. He has 2 touchdowns against man coverage this year. Now, obviously, he's not going to have as good of receiver metrics as what Nico Collins is putting on the board here for man coverage. But Tank Dell, I think, is still a very serviceable wide receiver here. So let's put those 3 together. David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Tank Dell. You put those together, you can get around plus 800 odds at Bet365. So that's going to be the same game parlay we do for Sunday Night Football. All right, B-Matt, now let's get back to Sunday afternoon. And you have a touchdown bet that you like for the Commanders-Steelers game. What do you like?
Yeah, so I'm going back to George Pickens here, anytime touchdown, and it's plus 195. And just to me, this is a great number against the Commanders defense. So, you look at Pickens and you've seen the revival with Russell Wilson at quarterback. So he's 6th in deep targets and 3rd in red zone targets among wide receivers in the NFL. And now you're talking about Russell Wilson, who, if we saw last game, he could have scored 3 times, had 1 taken back.
Yeah.
So that was just a brutal game if you were betting George Pickens anytime touchdown props. But anyway, I just think that this is a great matchup. Commanders run a ton of single high safety looks, and I just think, if you look at a guy in George Pickens whose first read share jumps from 30 to 40% against single high looks, then yeah, I'll take a guy with a 40% first read share to score a touchdown at plus 195. And we all know what Pickens can do as far as catching the ball.
What a shift, right? Like in wide receiver ones being priced now at plus 195 against this Commanders defense. Do you remember there was a point where you couldn't get anybody over plus 120 from a receiving standpoint against this Commanders defense in secondary? What a shift that has come to. And then also we talk about the Russell Wilson angle with George Pickens and how it's kind of like Cortland Sutton 2.0 in a way, like with how he is able to throw those kind of moon balls and put it up there for his receiver to make a play. And George Pickens, from a contested catch standpoint, probably is one of the best wide receivers, if not the best, against contested catches. So George Pickens, I love this bet against the Commanders defense, especially in a bounce back for somebody who did bet his touchdown bet last week, me, who ended up getting just completely hosed in a way with him not getting 2 feet down and then another touchdown called back on penalty. So George Pickens' bounce back season is starting in week 10 against the Commanders. So that is going to be BMAT's second best bet of week 10. I'm actually going back to the 1 p.m. slate as well, but I'm looking at this Vikings-Jaguars game and trying to find a pick that I really liked, somebody who I think could really make an impact in this game and then maybe doesn't have to necessarily deal with some of the elements as much because of the shorter passing range, and that's TJ Hawkinson. So I took him to bet to score a touchdown this week, BMAT, at plus 280. What's funny now is because of that weather, I'm starting to see plus 290, plus 295 right now. So again, anything over plus 270 to me is the value for TJ Hawkinson. So Hawk, second game back. I think the other thing too, last week, his snap counts and targets are definitely going to increase. And we talk about this about Jacksonville. The recipe is very simple for how you bet touchdown scorers versus Jacksonville. And you find the pass catcher with the best metrics versus man defenses, and you hammer it. And right now, that's obviously Justin Jefferson, but he's around like minus 120, maybe minus 130, somewhere even maybe minus 115, where there still might be a little bit of value. But I'm going more higher on the board here with TJ Hawkinson. And last season, Hawk was second on the team in target share and yards per route run versus man defenses. And the Jaguars, it's not like they're covering tight ends at a good rate anyway. They're 31st in defensive DVOA against tight ends. They've given up 5 touchdowns to the position. But yes, like I kind of mentioned this off the hop, the elephant in the room is the bad weather. There's going to be some rain. There's going to be some wind. But I do expect when the Vikings get to the red zone, I still expect Hawk to be that big target for Sam Darnold and catch a touchdown this week and get his first touchdown of the season. Before we talk to Ahan Rungda and what he likes for touchdown bets, what do you think of TJ Hawkinson in this matchup and this specific matchup with the Vikings and Jaguars?
Yeah, I love it too. And it's not like if you look at Sam Darnold, it's not like he hasn't been throwing touchdown passes to the tight end position already this year. He's just got an upgrade now. So I think we saw Josh Oliver score in what everybody in what everybody thought would be the TJ Hawkinson touchdown week. So, it's always the week after, right? No, it's a great matchup. And again, like you said, if there is weather that we have to worry about, rain, whatever, the short passing game, the check down the tight end, those are usually the least affected.
Absolutely. So TJ Hawkinson plus 280 is my second best bet of week 10. All right, now let's bring in our special guest for the touchdown show, Ahan Rungta. Touchdown! And welcome to the extra point segment for the touchdown show. And we have a special guest in Ahan Rungta. Second time being on the show. He was on the show with us back in week 4. Ahan, welcome back to the touchdown show.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Last time I was on, I think I gave out Greg Dortch, and first drive, he got tackled at the 1. So we got the bad mojo out of the way. Hopefully today I give out 2 winners.
Yeah, I think you had Greg Dortch, and I think you were probably just a couple weeks ahead on Xavier Hutchinson as well for a long shot, who probably might have a big role tonight in Sunday Night Football. But let's talk about Sunday afternoon football, specifically the Jaguars and Vikings. You have a touchdown bet that you like in that game. What are you thinking of?
Yeah, you've caught me on an occasion where it's very rare for me, but I'm on a complete chalk play, and I have 1 unit on this. Very rare for me in the touchdown market, but it's because I love it. Justin Jefferson has 8 red zone targets on the season.
Ooh,
and 100 plus air yards in 5 of 8 games. Jacksonville is ranked number 32 in dropback EPA per play allowed. Whenever I can get a player of this caliber who hasn't scored in a few weeks, which is probably why we're getting a little bit of a discount, I'm going to do it. I mean, before the season started, I made a fantasy football thread about why are we fading Justin Jefferson. Everybody wanted to be like, without Kirk Cousins, he's not going to thrive. Pretty clear now, the best wide receiver in football can thrive in the system because Kevin O'Connell is pass first, and that's why I like this too. Because, like I said, we're getting a discount because Jacksonville hasn't really allowed a lot of wide receiver ones to score touchdowns recently, but those situations aren't comparable at all to this case. A team in the last few weeks, a team has either just not had a clear-cut wide receiver one like the Patriots, or they've been run first for a majority of the game, like the Eagles last week when they almost blew that lead, but were dominating for a majority of that game, and they just let Saquon run all over them. This is not the case here. Aaron Jones is great, but that's not the strategy for the Vikings. They're going to be a pass-first offense every single time. Last couple of weeks, Jefferson hasn't scored, but if the Vikings are to come anywhere near their implied team total here and take care of the Jags, Jefferson is scoring. Give me Justin Jefferson at minus 115 on either FanDuel or DraftKings, same price for an anytime touchdown.
I mean, I love Jefferson, and we're big fans of Jefferson on the show. I think my only gripe that I had is that you had probably said that he is the best wide receiver in football. I think Jamar Chase, in my opinion, might have a little bit of a contention with that. But again, that's Coke and Pepsi, like depending on where you want to pick there. All right, Justin Jefferson. I'm also on TJ Hawkinson in this game as well. So I'm really thinking the Minnesota passing game, even though there might be a little bit of weather issues, I think both of those guys could still get into the end zone. Now, Ahan, before you go, I know you have a long shot bet that you like. Please tell us, what is your favorite long shot touchdown bet of week 10?
Yeah, I mean, usually I'm when I'm looking for long shots, I look for players that either I think are very good and just completely underpriced, or are in a role that's just completely mispriced by at least one book. I think we have something that fits both of those systems here today. Devon Vele is on the Broncos, and he is not talked about at all because of the other weapons surrounding him. But 7th round draft pick, nothing crazy that jumps off the page to you until you look at his athletic profile. 75th percentile as a prospect in the 40-yard dash, 86th percentile in speed score, 73rd percentile in catch radius, which is important to me because Bo Nix throws a lot of those jump balls in the red zone. And today he gets a matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs, we all know they're an elite defense, and they play man coverage a lot, and they play man coverage very well with those cornerbacks on the outside. Those will be on Courtland Sutton and Troy Franklin. That's why a few of the slot receivers against them, the quote unquote forgotten about guys, have gotten them for touchdowns. Last week, I was on Ryan Miller at halftime. I live bet him for a touchdown because he was playing out of the slot, and he cashed. It was his only catch of the game. It was a touchdown. So Devon Vele here, he's seen a red zone target a couple of weeks ago. He's been involved in red zone packages every single time he's on the field for those. And just a guy that's consistently gotten the routes. And of course, I hope you can agree with me that the Broncos are probably not going to dominate this game and be run first very early, because those are the only situations where he really doesn't run routes. So I think he's going to get the routes today. He's going to be involved in red zone packages. If Bo Nix can lead one touchdown drive, I think Devon Vele scores, and you can get this at plus 750 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, Bo Nix had maybe even 3 chances last week against that Baltimore Ravens defense, and they just couldn't punch it in. Cortland Sutton, he saw a bunch of targets, but much tougher matchup compared from Marlon Humphrey to somebody like Trent McDuffie, who's probably going to be shadowing him quite a bit as well. So Devon Vele over the slot plus 750. We didn't have to hear about Franklin and Nix's time in Oregon together. So again, I'm all in on this bet here. So I love Devon Vele and I love Justin Jefferson. So Ahan, before you go, please tell us where we can find more of your content and what you've got going on for this upcoming week.
Yeah, so as you can see on the screen, I'm on Twitter. I'm perennially on Twitter. I tweet a lot, so if you follow me, be alarmed. If you want to see only my bets, they go in the Parlay Signs Discord in my channel, Ahan Plays. I post NFL content and currently NBA content as well, and when it's relevant, MLB and WNBA as well. So you can follow my plays there. I post long shots there as well. I'm going to post a touchdown round robin in there in a few minutes. So all my action for Week 10 will be in there today.
Beautiful. All right. Ahan, thank you very much for joining us. Follow him on Twitter at Ahan Rungda. Ahan, thank you for joining the Touchdown Show again.
Appreciate you
Thanks,
guys.
Ahan.
Touchdown! All right. Thank you, Ahan. And now let us get into our spicy touchdown bets. B-Matt, we've got a collab to do, and this is a guy who has been a fixture in this segment now for probably at least 4 of the shows this year, and I have no regrets because I love betting this guy for 2 touchdowns. Tell us, who is the collab bet for us this week?
Yeah, like you said, it's like we're the Millers, no regrets when we bet this guy. So, look, we're going to go Taysom Hill, 2+ touchdowns at 16-1. And I'll start, and then I'll let you, make a compelling case to close it. Look, 3rd time's a charm, right? I mean, we just got to start with that. All right, I've done this 2 weeks in a row. Last week, he did score. And here's the thing, too. There's no Kendre Miller. There's no Jamal Williams again. And so if you look last week at the actual game, you go, oh, yeah, well, Alvin Kamara, I mean, he had all the work. Yes, 29 carries. But when the Saints got inside the 10-yard line, none of Alvin Kamara's carries came inside the 10. The Saints had 2 rushing attempts inside the 10-yard line. Both of them went to Taysom Hill. So, look, I fully expect Alvin Kamara to get an enormous workload, carry the ball and work the way, 20 to 20s. But again, you saw last week when they get inside the 10, that's Taysom Hill territory. He's a bruiser, he runs hard, and he's got a nose for the end zone. So I like Taysom for 2 this week.
Well, the one thing too, B-Mac, because I'm on with you, Taysom Hill 2 touchdowns, but saw a red zone target as well. 5 targets in week 9, which was really encouraging for his involvement in the offense. I bring that up because Saints are pretty limited for pass catchers right now. Chris Olave is basically on the IR with concussion. Rashid Shaheed isn't back yet. And Taysom looked very effective, fully off the injury report now, which is very encouraging. And of course, we're playing against the Falcons, who he scored 2 touchdowns on back in week 4 in the first half. So Taysom Hill for 2 touchdowns is the spicy collab bet between B-Matt and I this week. But B-Matt, you've got another 2 touchdown bet that you like. What are you looking at?
Yeah, so this is like an odds play. I texted you last night with this one saying like, what? So I'm going to go CD Lamb 2+ touchdowns at plus 2,000. So this number is just crazy to me. We're talking about CD Lamb. And when you look at who the backup quarterback, it's not some unproven guy who's never taken a snap in the NFL. It's Cooper Rush. And when Cooper was starting, 2 years ago, there was Cooper, it was Cooper mania. I mean, like the Cowboys fans were all on board with him. Like he was playing well. And you saw he came in last week. And look, I don't think he's, going to set the world on fire, but I also don't think that CD Lamb, if he's out there and playing the full range of snaps, is somebody that should be priced at 20-1 for 2 touchdowns. So, you know what? I'm going to go, I got to go with that. And then you look at the defense that, the Eagles play in man coverage. And then you have a receiver who's top 3 in the NFL in touchdowns against man coverage. It just kind of all adds up to, let me play his 2 touchdowns. And not to mention the fact, I think we can safely assume that the Cowboys will be playing from behind. So, CD Lamb. Sorry, Gilles.
No, that's okay. I expected that, and that is part of the game script. So, CD Lamb, I'm with you. I don't really understand at 20-1. Like I could have saw it at like 12-1, 14-1, where you're not really sure from a team total perspective how many touchdowns are going to be coming in from the Dallas Cowboys side. But at the same time, you mentioned it, Cooper Rush, this isn't his first start. He actually played against the Eagles a couple of years ago. Now he didn't look good, but at the same time, people learn from their mistakes, I would hope. And then Cooper Rush, or pardon me, CeeDee Lamb, I think you made a great point just as how effective he has been against man coverage, because the Philadelphia Eagles play that at a top 5 rate, and you know that he is going to be targeted a lot. So again, I would even look at him for an anytime touchdown over plus 200 as well, just because, again, there's just too much talent. The volume is coming there. It's very rare to get a wide receiver 1 over plus 200, even if this isn't the Cortland Sutton situation against Kansas City. Like, we're talking about CeeDee Lamb here. So, again, I love this bet, and I think that there is definitely a potential for him to get 2 touchdowns on this Eagles defense, even in a losing effort. So CeeDee Lamb, 2 touchdowns, and Taysom Hill, that's who we're collabing on. I've got a 2-touchdown bet. A guy that I hit last year, a guy who I think is definitely in for some positive regression from a rushing touchdown perspective, and that's Josh Allen. I took him for 2 touchdowns today at 14-1. That's already moved down to around 11-1. Make sure to get it at 10-1 or better. So again, I talked about this, only 3 touchdowns this year, but that game against Miami was ridiculous. He should have had one last week. It was called back on penalty. And for all quarterbacks, he is 3rd amongst all quarterbacks with rushing attempts inside the 10 behind Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels. And the Colts been pretty below average stopping the run. And the other thing that I'm worried about from a Bills perspective, from a scoring perspective rather, is the receiving options. Like Keon Coleman is out, Amari Cooper probably not going to play as well. So again, and the other thing too, and this is more of a historical thing for Josh Allen, one of those galaxy brain deep dives. So I went to just go look to see how Josh Allen does like indoors or in a dome. And he's played in 11 indoor games in his career. And in 6 of 11 games indoors, he scored a touchdown. And in 3 of those, he had 2 touchdowns. So I just really like the idea of Josh Allen indoors, especially against a Colts defense where he won't have his full menu of passing options for him. So Josh Allen, 2 touchdowns is who I love at 14-1. Before we do the 180 challenge, B-Matt, what do you think of Josh Allen in this matchup and just the Colts in general playing against the Colts with the way that their receiving options are a little bit limited?
Yeah, I was going to say you're exactly right. So if you take away, a couple of their top receivers, and the fact that Keon Coleman was really starting to play well, and Allen was clearly trusting him more, then you have to say, all right, where does some of that offense come from? And I think this is one of those games where you could see Josh Allen scramble a little bit more. And I think that the price, anytime you can get Josh Allen 2 touchdowns, 10-1, and you're not playing against, the league's #1 defense, you're playing against the Colts, and it's a good bet.
Well, producer Josh, he's our Bills fan here at Action, and he has reminded me that they do have the Chiefs coming up here, that maybe they might be a little more hesitant to want to run Josh Allen and save him for that game. But I think Josh Allen, he's the type of quarterback who throws caution to the wind and will just put his head down and get those touchdowns, especially in a position if it's to try to win the game. So Josh Allen, 2 touchdowns is my second spicy bet of the week. Now let's talk about the 180 challenge. And what we do here is every week for $10, we try to do a 3-leg same game parlay, or not same game, but a 3-leg touchdown parlay for the 180 challenge. Try to get it to as close to 18 as possible. This week, we're going to take a Hans bet of Justin Jefferson. We're going to use that as the first leg. B-Matt, what should we use for the second leg for the 180 challenge?
I'm kind of thinking CeeDee Lamb. We used the 2 touchdowns. Let's go ahead and go CeeDee Lamb anytime touchdown here.
All right. Well, then, so CeeDee Lamb, he's around plus 220. So I think that's a pretty good leg to be able to boost that. I think we should just add Josh Allen for 1 touchdown then instead, because we both like him for 2 touchdowns. Why don't we just get the 1 touchdown in there, and then we're playing with good house money and looking good going into the second half if we could potentially cash those. So when you put those 3 together, you've got Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and Josh Allen. That 3-leg parlay comes out to about 13-1, plus 1358. So pretty good odds there for those 3 guys who I think all, if you took this just a year ago, that was 3 legs would probably be a parlay of plus 650 kind of thing. So I feel like we're getting a little bit more value here now on those 3 studs. All right, well, B-Matt, that's the 180 challenge. That's all for today. I got 4 picks. You got 4 picks. We got a collab with Taysom Hill for 2 touchdowns. We got some touchdown parlays on deck. Want to remind everybody who watches the Touchdown Show, we'll be back here week 11 on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, live right after Convince Me during the Action Network Power Hour. And if you missed the show, you want to get our picks, download the Action app. All of our touchdown bets are tracked there. You can get them as soon as we bet them with pick notifications. I want to thank you again for joining us for the Touchdown Show for Week 10. Bon chance.